Hello, everybody. Hello, HubSpot users, lovers, sellers, rev-ops experts, whoever is to join us for the ABM discussion. Wouter, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Good to talk to you always, especially ABM and HubSpot, my favorite topic, as you know. So really excited.
Yeah, awesome. To those of you who might don't know yet who Wouter is, he's one of the loudest, I guess, experts out there. At least on LinkedIn. This is where we got together for
Yeah.
the first time. Had a few chats around that. ABM HubSpot. Yes, this is what what you teach, what you talk about, what you work with clients. Before we went live, I told you I started counting, how many ABM HubSpot ABM consultation freelancing affiliations you have on LinkedIn. It seems you're doing really good. What I like always talking to you is you do what you preach, which is I think always a good sign. You can eat your own dog food, and this is how you can prove it works everything perfectly. Not to be too long. Please give us an overview of best practices, what you're seeing, where companies struggle when we get to HubSpot ABM. And keep in mind, we don't want to have that for 5 hours. And I'm sure you can talk for 5 hours or even more. But high level, how companies as of July 2025 should be thinking around ABM within HubSpot.
Yeah. So obviously, it all starts with your strategy. And this might sound like a no-brainer for some people, but I still see companies skipping solid foundational work on ideal client profiles. So really, at least deciding what is my ICP, what are the firmographics there, who are in the buying group, and the people that are in the buying group who are my most prominent ones. So my champion, my decision maker, having that marketing and sales and customer success, a joint understanding of those characteristics before you put anything in HubSpot is crucial, because everything you do after that is going to be dictated by that foundation. That being said, if you know who you want to get into the system, then that's the first thing I always do with clients. Work on a top 10, top 20 list, get all of the relevant people in an organogram. You can use OrgChart Hub for that. It's just been acquired by HubSpot, so it will take time for that to resurface. But build an organogram somewhere for your top 10, top 20 accounts. Sync all the contacts in from Sales Navigator using a plugin like Surf. And that will really give you a solid picture of who you are working with, who you are going to be targeting. If you miss that information, it's very hard to even build a campaign plan or a strategy around it.
Once you have those in HubSpot, what do you then? Do you kind of classify them and map them to the personas, to the org charts? You do that outside of HubSpot. Should you be doing that within properties to label who is champion, who is the gatekeeper and all that?
HubSpot has buying roles as a feature, part of the ABM feature. And buying roles can be used to designate what role they play in the committee. And those buying roles are also visible in OrgChart Hub, which is your organogram software. That's going to be part of HubSpot Enterprise now. We don't know when. For people who want to build organograms in HubSpot now, I recommend to do it temporarily in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. They have an account map feature as well. Your ideal end state is to have that in HubSpot. I can show examples at any given moment, by the way, so I'm not sure if it's meant to be screen shared.
Yeah. Feel free to share.
Okay.
Definitely be helpful for discussion. Yeah.
That will make things way more concrete. So just give me a few seconds to pull this up. So what we're going to look at is what account mapping looks like in HubSpot CRM. I should be able to. So this is the OrgChart Hub plugin that is not available on the marketplace anymore. Another reminder, HubSpot acquired it, so it's going to be integrated into the Sales Hub. But it's about the principle. So What you can do is based on your buying committee. So we were just touching on the first few strategic steps, the absolute one and a halves, is develop your ICP. And that's usually based on industry, revenue, region, employees. And then from that ICP, develop your full buying committee. So who are all the people who are in some shape or form part of the buying committee, and put them into contact tiers. And contact tier A is the most relevant. And for your most relevant contacts, you will develop personas. I recommend using the SPICed methodology to work out their situation, pain, and the impact that you can make. This is from Revenue Architecture, book in the back. Highly recommended for B2B SaaS companies, also applicable for other B2B. And as soon as you have this buying committee and the personas, what you then do is you go into LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you will find those people per account, right? So this obviously, we're skipping a step of making the target account list, but I want to show you that in this example, for instance, I have marketing, operations, rev-ops people. You can use Sales Navigator personas to isolate those people easily within accounts. So we're doing that right here. And then you can select the relevant contacts, and using Serve, that's a plugin, you can sync to HubSpot from Sales Navigator. So if I were to hit this button, they would fall into the CRM, and they will also be available in your account mapping software here on the right. And then you can start adding them to the chart based on the typical roles that you have. Almost there, guys, wrapping it up. So you have that buying committee. What you want to do is in your organogram software, create a blueprint of all the roles that you typically see at your ideal client profile. And then Org Chart Hub already start to auto-populate based on job titles that came in from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, this organogram, and then you can supplement the last bit. And then you have for your top 10, top 20 accounts, that's a recommendation, you have the full buying committee laid out and visible in HubSpot. And you can do a few other things like send automated connection requests, but I'll leave that out for now.
Yeah. Awesome. So what's next? Once you have the contact account map out, I'm sorry if I'm asking too concrete questions, but and if you're sharing too much of the insights, but I think this is valuable for everyone thinking about it. Be maybe a bit more practical and tactical. You have now contacts in your HubSpot mapped out. How do you, I guess, first strategically think about ABM, and then how you execute it within HubSpot to leverage as much as possible of HubSpot functionalities alternated there?
Yeah. So now we have, now that we have the accounts in front of us, the idea is to do an exercise where you develop positioning and messaging for those accounts. So this is still a strategic step. We're still in the strategic phase. So what you want to do is use that spiced output and develop messaging for your key personas. And that's usually based on a job to be done and a goal and a challenge, which you have from spiced. And then you use that input to go find out what the informational need around that topic is, and then develop key messaging where you also preempt the objections. And this is the foundation for your campaign plan. Because what are we going to do with those accounts, right? Are we going to send content to them? Maybe we'll invite them to a webinar or even a face-to-face event. So after the strategy is done, the tactical part comes into play, and that is an ABM campaign plan. So usually we run a brainstorm to come up with content offers, content pieces based on those personas and the messaging. And then after knowing the content pieces, you develop your blueprint here that exactly details how are we going to get those accounts towards our main content piece, which for instance can be a webinar. So this is the tactical translation of your campaign plan into a blueprint like this. And it even details the sales follow-up all the way at the end. So together with marketing and sales, you will already define after the webinar or the event or your main offer, what will we do to follow up with, for instance, direct mail or anything else. And this also answers your question, because this is what you will implement in HubSpot. Okay, so we will have a landing page. We will have a webinar software connected to it. So this depicts what you will do in HubSpot afterwards.
That's super interesting and super insightful. Awesome. Hey, Luke, webinars, yes. We already talked with Luke at one of the previous shows about their webinar platform. So you described kind of all these plays into inviting to a webinar. So it's not reaching out and asking for a call right away, right? This is kind of the old playbook, which is not working anymore, but it's rather more of bringing them to the value, to the content, to what extent maybe then further thinking about how we can use AI around all the ABM. Should companies be thinking of tailoring messages, tailoring landing pages for specific company or even persona? I guess dynamically can stuff be done. How do you see all that potential of AI, HubSpot, ABM, which can all, I think, play a really nice role?
Yeah. So with the role of AI, now what they call programmatic ABM starts to become more of a reality. So we used to have programmatic ads, programmatic display. Programmatic ABM is a term that is possible because of AI. And what you do is you have your buying committee, you have your personas, and we can go with Clay, or if you build more custom in N8N, you can go really far to determine what the actual message for that person should be. So to give you an example, we can scrape LinkedIn posts from people. We can look for quotes online or things they said in podcasts or webinars, and use those hooks to create a message. It doesn't even have to be cold outreach where you just want to send them to a demo or a meeting, but you can also use that to invite them to a webinar. And that's how I would always recommend using it, especially if you only focus on a handful of accounts. Use AI to get more information about what is driving your buyers, right? Because the approach we just looked at was a generic one with generic positioning and messaging for that group of accounts. But we can go even further now and literally find quotes of companies that or people that are in your buying group. And that is a big change from things that we could not do before, actually.
Yeah, we are playing around with a lot of those kind of ideas. I would say one is the basic, let's say, data enrichment, which is what you initially mentioned about firmographic, job title, location, revenue, and all that to build your account list, to map out who is who in that account list. And then with AI, I think now it's really possible to do a deep research in a way on a contact and company level at scale. And with the playbook of every company as how it's changing, more executives are present on webinars, on podcasts, on LinkedIn Lives, on posting on LinkedIn, posting on having YouTube videos and so forth. Everyone is sharing more and more information. If you can with AI find a CEO talking at a podcast, sharing for 60 minutes of how they think about as a company and so forth, you can really have a much better understanding just scraping their reports or press releases and so forth.
Here it is. Here's such an example. So we have a few cool SaaS companies in this demo. We got Foley and Workwise in the Netherlands, really cool companies. We're not doing anything with this, just as an example. And we looked at, okay, can we find quotes from these people? And here it is already. And this you would format into HubSpot in a way more beautiful manner, of course. But here you can already see what we can find. So here is such a quote. And you can use these quotes in your outreach. And some companies even automate this, right? So they take this quote and put it into, for instance, we usually connect instantly to Clay and send outbound campaigns using these quotes. That's for people who want to go more programmatic. If you have a smaller target account list, 10, 20 accounts to start off with for a good ABM pilot, then you can use a tool like Clay to get this research in front of you and really leverage it when you reach out to invite to a webinar or participate in a report or a survey. So it's a really powerful way of not being creepy. You're just using this to legitimately understand what is moving them. So, and then can you connect it to the value you are offering with the topic you're explaining? And if the answer is yes, then that's a great way to use it. And this we could never do on scale before. So that is powerful.
Yeah. One word you said kind of got my attention is it not being creepy. Something we were discussing a week ago internally, as we're trying to use a lot of that and build systems to do all that research and so forth, and then write individualized messages to people you reach out to. Is we kind of have a feeling, and what we're seeing is you need to find a good balance of being really detailed of how much of research you've done, and then how by chance I'm reaching out to you, not to be perceived as creepy as I've been stalking you for weeks, and also on the other side, if it's too detailed of the research, it would be perceived as, okay, this was AI generated. I was just part of AI agent who is doing that, because naturally a human wouldn't do that. In your experience, how do you see that?
So just write as a human. Like I would never send things that it just needs to look casual, like you would send your friend a text. That's how I speak to people on LinkedIn. I chat to them like I'm sending a text to a friend. And that's even how you should write your emails. And yes, of course, I now have the information at my disposal around their quotes. But I keep it very light, and also because I don't want it any other way. Hey, I saw you mentioning this on that podcast. That's really interesting. We're tackling it in this way. I'm going to explain in the webinar. Here's the link if you want to join us. That's it. Just keep it like text a friend. That's always what I have in the back of my head.
Yeah. That's a really good insight. And the same goes, I think, for writing then the content, which I think can also play a role in all the ABM. Post on LinkedIn can be tailored to specific company or specific audience, and there you can kind of have that in mind, talking to that concrete persona or that concrete person even, and then address their kind of pains and things they are sharing on the podcast and so forth. Really interesting. I saw one of your quotes saying ABM is really just good marketing done at account level. With all the playbooks changing, SEO is changing, AI search is changing, how companies find you is changing. I feel and I'm confident more and more of ABM kind of approaches and really the individualization playbook, which is the name of the show, is crucial. How much time, resources a company would need to allocate to do a proper ABM test to convince them that, hey, yes, this is how we need to do it?
One marketer, one sales rep, one rev-ops person, 10, 20 accounts, one vertical, keep it very small, and build proof for management from there. I need to step out for 1 minute. I'll be right back, guys.
We'll wait for you. Until we're waiting, just a quick overview of maybe what we're building at Celestial. I said to Wouter that he can take a call and I'll be dancing around, but sorry, you won't see me dancing today. But to all the ABM plays and everything, what we are seeing talking to HubSpot users, it's really a lot of that. Deep research, AI agents helping you do a lot of research, as we just discussed with Wouter, how you can find things that you are just not able to because you don't have time. You have Clay, N8N, all those tools which can connect to HubSpot. We are building a system which is natively within HubSpot, just pulling the data back and forth. There are other tools working nicely within HubSpot. So and of course then you have all the breeze intelligence and research and AI natively available within HubSpot. So there's a lot of opportunities you can use. Wouter, I was not dancing. You didn't miss anything. But
next time,
I would just next time maybe. But yeah, I was just talking about all the possibilities, all the tools are there. You can nicely connect them to HubSpot. So there's really a lot of opportunities. So you said 3 people and then 20 accounts. How long do you need to run it? I assume it's not a week to make any good conclusions. No. How do you think about it? How do you work, and how do you suggest your clients about that?
Yeah, let me pull something up. So, of course, we're all doing it for pipeline and revenue, right? That's in the end is the gonna show this. This will make it easier. So, your true KPIs are revenue and pipeline. Deals closed won and deals with significant value in the pipe. Before you get to that, this really depends a lot on your sales cycle, right? You typically see with higher ACV, higher annual contract value, that the sales cycle is longer, 6, 9, 12 months. So you need to have validation that at least you're seeing things move in the right direction. So you call that leading indicators. This is also what the full funnel guys have taught us, that to go look for leading indicators. And that is, do I see engagement from target accounts? Are they hitting our website? Are they engaging with our ads? Are they interacting organically with our content? And in the second phase, are we actually booking our discovery calls? Are we setting our reps up with calls? It used to be very hard to measure engagement aside from web traffic or them filling out your forms. But now with the input of AI, you can have a lot more engagement signals measured, right? So it used to be a lot was first party. So your HubSpot lead scoring, they're filling out a form, or they're hitting your website and they've already accepted your cookies, and therefore you can track them. But now it's also possible to track, are they engaging with your organic posts? Are they engaging with your LinkedIn posts? And we can bring that all back into HubSpot using Clay or N8N. Companies that don't have our cookies, we can still see if they are hitting our website through IP web visit software like Dealfront, Lead Info, or Breeze natively in HubSpot. These tools have been around. It was just hard to connect them to a unified engagement score. Let's call that this here. So we can now use all of these platforms also to bring a unified engagement score into HubSpot and tie it into the existing lead scoring model. And when you look at what is engagement, well, it is that. And it really it's defined per company what engagement is, what channels you're using, and how you're measuring it. But to go back to your question, define your KPIs, then leading indicators, and update your stakeholders on what you're seeing within those leading indicators. Are we seeing accounts progressing, showing more engagement? Are we booking calls?
That's super helpful in a way to convince yourself, even after 3 months, that hey, it works. To one of the data points and how you measure engagement. Recently, we started playing around with the data which works for US-based people, but not only identify at a company level, but even at a contact level.
Mm-hmm.
Who is on your website and what websites and so forth. And we've seen some pretty interesting plays you can then do. Not only people who engage and then download something, but you can figure out that hey, a CRO from that company is on our website looking at our blog post. Okay, so yes, it's it is working. We haven't even reached out to that CRO according to the map and everything you already built,
Right.
but we already see that CRO on our website. So yeah, all the data now brought together for a more holistic and unified approach of who is engaging where, and with more and more companies, as I see, having a presence on different channels, it's more and more difficult kind of to attribute who is coming from where do you see the engagement. You can see the engagement, people just watching you post on LinkedIn. I see that reaching out to people. I've been seeing you talk about sequences and personalization of messages on LinkedIn now for a while, but no, there was no engagement, let's say, on my posts or my comments. But people do recognize that you talk in the same way. I'm sure you see, Wouter, you talking consistently about ABM and HubSpot on LinkedIn. People recognize you as an expert in that field. But you don't necessarily see any engagement directly on LinkedIn posts, but you might see that elsewhere. So kind of, bringing all the data to HubSpot can be super helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, now with AI is really the missing connection, the missing puzzle piece to get a lot of that data in. You also have to trust that when you do thought leadership consistently, that you will get buyers. The majority of my buyers never interact with my post. They're silent lurkers. But after 4 or 6 months, they come in and they just knock on your door, and you're the only provider left. They're not even talking to anyone else. So still, self-reported attribution is important, right? So, and they will usually tell you, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while. We're convinced that you are the expert. What are your services like?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I would say that as long as you have one such case, you can be sure there are many more which are just still out there, not yet reaching out to you. But no, as long as there's one, there are many more for sure. And if you have content on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on ads and all that, it will be more and more of, hey, we've been seeing you around, and then at some point, they raise the hand. Not to be too long. Any really encouraging maybe stats you've been seeing from your clients, from your recent work in the past 9 months? How to how companies you work with level up their ABM game, and what's next for you and AI and ABM and all of that.
So I mean, AI is nice, but the basics are really hard to master with ABM. So I always start with that. I just wrapped up a few collaborations where we ran ABM campaigns, and it has allowed a few of my clients to get in touch with their prospects in a much more natural way. So they were pounding a lot. So I have this B2B SaaS startup. It's going to go scale up soon, probably. They're in ed tech. And they had a lot of trouble booking meetings, even with the BDR approach. But also the quality was bad. The conversion rate was not good. It was not authentic. They wanted to have the authority building as a starting point. So simply running webinars with technical people on board, inviting technical people from these universities in, that does change the way how they had interactions with a client. So I like a lot the market research report play, and I can show that example of how it can really change how you interact with clients. It's a very strong one.
Yeah, definitely. Would love to see it.
Okay. I will prepare a few materials and also do a shout out to one of my longest B2B SaaS partners in ABM and HubSpot, who have tremendous company and just raised new funding to help accelerate their growth. And they ran a market research report campaign. This is also, by the way, for anyone that wants to learn up on the basics of ABM, check out the guys from Full Funnel, my friends Andre and Vladimir. They are super knowledgeable in ABM strategy. So big shout out to them. I also took their ABM course. And one of the big plays in that course is the market research report. So what do you do? What did Gradient do? They're in climate tech in the Nordics. They invited 17 big district heating networks, some prospects, some clients, and interviewed them extensively, and then compiled the findings into a market research report with 10 outcomes that are best practices. And this is such a strong way to interact with your target accounts, to build authority without selling. They know what you do, they're participating in the report, and the keyword is interactivity. And after compiling the report, they also did a follow-up webinar where they discussed the outcomes again with a few participants from that research report as roundtable participants in that webinar. And I will keep the results to myself because I don't want to share any numbers. But I can tell you that the revenue that is still coming in because of these interactions is significant. The ROI on a campaign like this is significant. The investment is also, right? This whole playbook takes at least 9 months to develop, roll out, do the sales follow-up. But it is an evergreen piece that you can keep repurposing, webinars on demand, and you can run it in other regions as they have. A great example of how to really include your prospects into educating the space together. And selling hardly has to be done only in the end when they want to acquire your solution as well. But then it's very much consultative selling and no challenging, no pushing. So everyone wins.
Yeah, awesome. This is and you build the report, you build the credibility already with them. So you've been engaging with the right stakeholders for 9 months, and then it's a matter of closing a deal, which would be way easier than if you would just reach out to them. That's really, and I think those kind of plays will be more and more important with the world that we're entering. That's how you differentiate. That's how you can do something that no one else is doing. Those are kind of I always have somewhere in my mind from from Paul Graham. Do things that don't scale. This is kind of something like that. It's hard to scale, as I said. It takes 9 months to build it, but that piece of content and those relationships that you build, you can harvest that for quite a while.
Yeah, you have to. If you only have a small selection of target accounts, like this company Gradient does, right? They work with big heating networks, so it's not like you have thousands in one region. No, it's just a big city has a heating network. So it's really the white glove treatment is important there. But I will show this graph for everyone to realize that it has dependencies. This is really crucial to take into consideration. The investment goes up the more narrow you go, right? So if you go for one-to-one or one-to-several, white glove treatment, that means you're investing more per account, and you're also betting on that one of them is going to convert. So if you bet on 7 accounts, if you miss 7 times, you have nothing, right? So that is to take into consideration. The ROI usually also significantly goes up the more narrow you go, but it is very much related also to the annual contract value. So you can only justify the investment in most cases if the ACV is high enough, right? So from 25, 30K, guys, you can start to consider ABM as a go-to-market motion. From 50 onwards, it starts to become more relevant. 100, usually 100 plus is a no-brainer. But and especially if you go narrow, you go for the one-to-one, one-to-several, the investment per account goes up. So it better pays off when you make the sale, right? And that the ACV needs to be high.
That is a good insight. 25 to 50 is where you start considering ABM. Before that, the ACV is too low and the risk is too high to invest too much and then not covering.
Indeed.
the investment.
And do keep in mind that ACV is just spans over 1 year. So your initial might be low. So I work with another client in EdTech, and they start with a 10K pilot program in the first year to build the proof. So obviously that would never justify a full-blown ABM approach, but the upselling starts in the consecutive years. So they need the most accounts they can grow to 100K plus ACV. So the lifetime value projection is high, right? So ACV can be low if you just know that you, on the right side of the bow tie expansion, you can upsell significantly. Then it's also okay. But just to keep it simple, make sure you can make decent money off the account. If not, don't go account based, or at least not so white glove treatment.
That was, I think, a really good wrap up of everything we discussed. Wouter, thank you so much for joining. As always, pleasure talking to you. Always so insightful. See you around, if nothing else, on LinkedIn, talking about HubSpot and ABM.
For sure. We should do it. Best of luck with Celestial. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you. See you next week.
Yes.